This is a special day coverage of the 58th independence anniversary of Ghana here on Joy News, and we're having a conversation earlier here in the studio with Osar Mohammed, who's lecturer at the University of Development Studies. David Agbe is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Beautiful poem.
Yeah, I was elated. In fact, this is terrific. I was just imagining whether we are all listening as a country to this poem, and it has really provoked our thoughts, and I hope the President is listening and all people of Ghana are listening. He made reference to the fact that we belong to Africa, and he kept on referring to Ethiopia, which is the foundation of the African continent. And he made reference to the fact that the African is the cradle of mankind, or the black man is the cradle of mankind, and that has not been disputed by any research up to date. When Charles Darwin made that postulation, he was criticized, and at the point his death was even associated to that. And you can see that the white people, or people of white color, have come to terms with that. There's the famous quotation by one German professor who claimed that she wanted to study the history of Africa. And you know, in her 10, in her reportage, she stated that perhaps there will be an African history to be taught in the future, but for now, there's none. There's only the history of the presence of the Europeans in Africa. And those people are living in the picturesque but irrelevant corners of the globe. That we, the whites, may amuse ourselves and take the history of a barbarian tribe that are living in a picturesque but irrelevant corners of the globe. These were statements that were made in the 19th, 18th century. In 21st century, these are the same people who've come to realize that Africa is the root of all development in the world. And you can trace that to our resources. And in his poem, he made reference to the fact that we are the only continent that can boast of all resources that are needed for development.
Indeed. David, what for you stood out in that poem? For me, I mean, two things, one of which you have mentioned, Pan-Africanism, and the other is the fact that the so-called heritage one for us as a country, Ghana, we seem to be losing it. David?
And I said that one right from the beginning, that we've all disappointed Kwame Nkrumah one way or the other, because if you read the history of Africa very well, and the kind of pronouncement that Kwame Nkrumah made right from the beginning, which inspired most of the African leaders, Kenneth Kaunda, and so many leaders, Nelson Mandela and all those people, they all took an inspiration from what Kwame Nkrumah was saying. And Kwame Nkrumah made all kinds of statements saying that, yes, Africa, we can do it if we are all united. Because we have every natural resources, as Professor Atukui said, both human and natural resources. We have everything. Why is it that we are not progressing the way we want to see ourselves? Why are we still, beggars on our own land? It's all about the management and the leaders. They are not championing what is good for mankind. And that is why we are still lacking behind. And every day we keep on begging from one point to another. So it was quite thought-provoking by the poem, of Professor Atukui Okan. I believe that the president and the other leaders of our country are taking a certain level of medicine from his pronouncement or his poem. It's thought-provoking, such that it has to wake everybody up.
It will take time for that to trickle down.
I only hope, or we only hope, that the president is listening to those kind of words.
For me, it has become routine. We just need the poet to come around and say something.
We need to meditate. We need to take those kind of poems, read it thoroughly.
I hope we do. Let's look at the way we mark Independence Day here in the country. This is the question I've been asking myself. Why must we have an elaborate, almost colonial and colloquial in nature a celebration to mark our Independence Day? So much so that, look at what we saw on the TV. People are collapsing. They are standing for long hours and doing all that. Is that what we need?
Before I come to that, I just want to make a little remark, or maybe a little contribution to the fact that, look, we will change. change is a process, and as a development student of development, I always tell you that development is a process, and we need to sometimes be a bit patient, but not to be patient enough. The question sometimes we have to also understand is that we need to experience some harsh treatment to be able to reflect. I'm sharing this experience with a Senegalese minister just last year, June, in Bonn, Germany, when we were having the Global Media Forum, hosted by Deutsche Welle. And we went out for, coffee in the evening, and we went to buy a watch. He had prepared to come and buy a branded German watch called Fossil. And when we went to the shop with this man, look, the young girl who was manning the shop insulted us literally because we were looking at different watches. And she directed us to the section where, relatively cheap watches were sold, that we could go there because that place is relatively cheap. We went out of that shop, went back to our hotel room, and this man, really an elderly man, of course, reflected, and he said, could we just imagine the insult? He could buy those watches 10 times from the resources that he has stolen or embezzled as the minister of his country. Now he has no place to spend those monies in his country because those watches are not found in his country. He has to come to his country to buy them. Therefore, he said, it is we, the politicians, he was referring to himself, who have made their countries poor, and therefore we get the resources and we have to go out. At that point, I know he was making a turning point in his life that if he had the opportunity, he would prepare his country in a way that he can have those shops in his country and can go there and shop without any insult. Coming from this point of view, we made mention of the fact that this celebration might not be relevant. Yes, we can have different schools of thought.
My point about the celebration is, look, it's colonial, is unnecessarily elaborate, and colloquial.
Yes, yes. Tradition is something that sometimes, as you grow and trying to see other things in other places of the world due to globalization, you may tend to see your own way of life as inferior, and that has been the challenge to culture, especially in African culture. We have been exposed so much to other cultures, and we tend to rather like those cultures. I don't see any problem so much about the celebration. It can be the same every time. But the most important thing that you have to draw from the celebration is what are we using it for? And for the format, the way it is done, school children coming to march, they're all learning grounds. But what are they learning? The question is, what have we programmed, what have we planned to achieve from each year of our celebration? If it is to imbibe a culture of resilience on the children, if we are to imbibe a culture of reflection, if we are to imbibe the culture of planning.
But is that what has happened over time, over the past 58 years?
And that is my departure.
It does not render it very unnecessary then, if we haven't been able to achieve anything from it.
And that's where I agree with you perfectly, that we've not really thought of how we can use this celebration to achieve the development agenda of the nation. And therefore it has become rhetoric. It has become just go and do it. It has become a source of revenue for those who organize it. And people, when it's getting to independence celebration, some public officials are getting happy because they'll be able to submit budget, and they'll be able to submit, a budget and receive money and benefit themselves, not for the benefit of the nation. That is the point that I will agree with you to a large extent, that we need to carefully understand any national agenda that we are pursuing as a country. We need to have a strategy out of it. I know in India, when Mahatma Gandhi and co., anytime that he had opportunity to have his people gathered, he was selling a message to them. This is a platform where the president will sell a message or our leaders sell their messages. It is a good platform, important, historic, and national platform where leaders keep on talking to us. But the question is, what are they talking to us about? If we are not able to really get a message that we are going to communicate to the Ghanaian people, that at this particular point in time, at 58, we have gone this far. We are at this point because we are not able to do 1, 2, 3. And therefore, I am challenging my country people that, look, this is the agenda that we have to go. And it might be painful to us, it might be difficult for us, but we must create a generation that will sacrifice for the next generations to come. At that point, we'll be communicating. But if it becomes a place where political parties or politicians come to defend the indefensibles. If it's a platform where political parties come to, talk about their political party manifestos, but rather than national development planning agendas, then that is a point I will agree with you that it is a failed process.
David, what do you think about celebration of the big day?
That is where I disagree with you. I think that is a very, very important celebration because
is this the best way to mark it? I agree that we need to mark today, but I think the format we're using, even for me at some point, it reminds me a little too much of military rule, because the whole march past and all of that, making the children go through several hours of standing.
We should be guided by history. We should be guided by history. You know, we've suffered a lot. We've been enslaved for over 400 years. Before we had we attained our independence in 1957, we've been under a certain rule for almost about 482 years plus before Kwame Nkrumah made sure that we attained this independence. So it is a historic moment, but what we need to do is that after the independence, what have we done wrong? That is the point. What have we done wrong? I mean, with the vision, with that Kwame Nkrumah, put out, have we been able to sustain it? Have our leaders failed us? Have our managers of the various sectors of the economy failed us? That is where I will agree with you that yes, we failed. We failed totally in a number of ways.
I want us to get into the details of that question in a bit. But let's look at the 58 years journey we've had so far as a country. They say that indeed we have come far as a country. But David, how far have we come?
Very, very far. In that I was telling you that Cape Coast Castle was built around, is it 1475 thereabout? If you calculate, until we attained the independence in 1957, almost about 482 years plus. Yeah. Looked at the way our colonial masters treated us. Looked at the arrows that they constructed around the country. They will make sure that they construct the roads such that they can take all our mineral resources away, straight away to the airport, and then they take it. Until Kwame Nkrumah said that no, enough is enough. We have to take the leadership mantle. That was why he was able to mobilize all the Ghanaians, and we attained independence in 1957. So he has done a lot for this country. But after that, what have we done? What has our leaders done? Are we not, doing the same thing, saluting our colonial masters one way or the other? Let me just take one critical example which we have discussed with you on a number of platforms. We've been talking about these emerging oil in our country since we discovered oil in 2008 thereabout. Just take the oil sector. We started in 2000 producing the oil in commercial quantity 2010. Till date, 4 years down the line, we have issued a report almost about a week ago, 4 years account of the oil production in our country. Ghana has had only 2.7 billion, whilst the foreign oil companies has gained almost 10.41 billion. They've taken it away. And was it 3 days or 4 days ago, I was watching one of the TV stations, TV3. They were able to organize an event which NDC, MPP people were there, here and there. Do you know what they were saying? I heard some of them say, it is enough. Even the 2 billion that we've gained is enough for us. They are not looking at how much can Ghana get, but they are saying it is enough for us. I heard Katie Hammond, Afisha Jagba, and co, and many, and I heard this man,
David, man. Let's come back to our conversation
what's
here.
His name?
Let's come back to our conversation.
We are all talking about the fact that what we've gained is enough for us. We are not arguing for the fact that we need to
David,
get maximum benefit of the oil farm.
But what does it say about our leaders?
It tells you that our leaders and our managers of the economy, in fact, I don't know whether I have to use this term. It's like we've not been able to identify people who have the interests of the nation at heart. And so when they are going to the negotiation table, they go there with empty empty mindset that anything that you give to us, we are ready to accept it. Why could you? Everywhere in the world that oil has been discovered, people are always arguing for a fair share, equitable share. But we are doing simply, I mean, as if we are not in the world, as if we are not part of the world at all.
How has the journey been?
So it tells
for
you that we are not doing proper things. We are not. We do not have the interests of the country at heart. So everybody is doing whatever.
David, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Asa, what's your assessment of the 58-year journey?
Yes, I think it's a mixed feeling. We started at independence 1957 after even a long period of struggle, and in 1957 we finally broke the deadlock and then got our independence, and a lot of happiness with joy, and then we saw the Ghanaian people and the African people in general celebrating, and Kwame Nkrumah linking it to the total liberation of the whole total African continent. That was a point of a departure from the suffering that my brother had just talked about, 400 years. Yes, from independence, Kwame Nkrumah came with a number of strategies, and he had been able to put in a number of plans, 7-year plans, and then had a number of visions. He ended up into the industrial substitution, import substitution industrialization agenda, where he called it the big push, which led Ghana to the production of most of the things that we needed. So that is where we talked about eat what you grow, and then grow what you eat, and that concept was really done into the Ghanaian people. And listening to people who lived during those days, unfortunately I was not there. I wish I was in that particular generation. You could see that joy that they had, and that was a good time for Ghana. Unfortunately, in 1966, we got ourselves into a military coup that ousted Kwame Nkrumah, and taking us for another 20 or so years of constant military regime. I mean, changing almost every 2-3 years, 4 years, and that order, until we had in 1979, where we had a relatively longer military regime, and taking us all the way to 1992, where we had our fourth Republican Constitution reinstated into constitutional rule. And since then, we have been able to have 4 successive elections, I think 4. Six successive elections, having 4 different presidents or leaders emerging. So this is a journey that you can describe as a journey of mixed feeling, because we've had good times, and in terms of economic analysis or political economy analysis of our journey, you will see that we had periods, especially during Nkrumah's time, where strategic national development agendas were put in place, our economy grew faster, and it declined. So I'm just giving you...
I'm sorry to cut in. I'll let you go on, but
okay.
Look at what is going on at the Independence Square, and tell me that as a Ghanaian, you are not angered by what you see. That is, even if you have light to see it. That all of this is going on, and we want to pretend there is nothing wrong in the country. We have masquerades, dancing and doing all sorts of things. I don't even understand the science of it. And our leaders are happy sitting there, looking at it and even filming. That's more annoying.
My sister, you know what?
For me, I think that as a country, this very day, we should be angry that we haven't solved our problems. Channel that anger into solving our problems, thinking right. I don't masquerade.
My sister, what I would describe my relationship with you this morning is that we are equal and opposite. We are equal in a number of ways. We are angry with our situation. We are angry with the stage at which we are. And anybody will say that at this stage you should be crying. I mean, it's like an old man I met who reflected on his age, his life, and said it's like he has lived only 5 years. It was at the 5 years that he could see dramatic improvement in his life. So he described his age as 5. So yes, but he never stopped celebrating his birthday when he was in those dying times. But that means that
I think that may have happened because he had then, but by then or at that time, he didn't realize his problem. And I think that's what we are doing.
He realized his problem.
He only realized his problem.
He was struggling to change. He was struggling to change, but he never stopped celebrating his birthday because it was the beginning at deeper reflection. Yes, as much as possible you are reflecting in tears, but you should have some joy. and that I may describe this as part of the joyful moment that we need to have. Even though we are in pain, we are crying. As a nation, 58 years, we have not been able to get to where we are, especially when we compare ourselves. You know, there's always this particular theory of development when you until you try to do comparative analysis, you don't know where you are. Until in the village you see somebody riding a bicycle, you will never know that you are poor. So these are the stages where we compare ourselves to Malaysia, Singapore. We all had independence at the same time. And so we have every right to be angry that we are even spending resources in celebrating our failure. But at the same time, as morality, I feel it is also a particular moment that we can also reflect and have a little joy and then re-strategize and move on. To me, I don't have much problem about the celebration. I don't have, but we should have a message. We should at this point be rolling out strategic thinking, strategic messages. And as I think one of the Indian, public gathering, when Mahatma Gandhi made a pronouncement, and that was the point where he was promoting the idea of rain harvesting or utilization of water. And he said, look, poverty at that point that he was making the statement was when you sit in your house and it rains, water falls onto the ground and run all the way into the sea without being turned to produce anything that will feed you. And at that point, he was having an agenda promoting that his country should go into agriculture and irrigation. I feel that, yes, these are platforms that are very important. And at this point in time, we should be rolling out national development statements that will psych all of us at that gathering, so that we probably will not be sitting down. When the professor was talking, you could see that everybody was listening. He was carrying a message. Those are some of the messages that I think we can strategically put them together and then push a generation.
I think everybody was quiet.
Yeah.
We can't be too sure if everybody was listening. But David, what's your thoughts on
you see,
on this?
At this point, I think what we need to do is to challenge, ourselves, just like J.F. Kennedy did in 1967 thereabout, when he challenged most of the Americans that they can do it. 10 years time down the line, they want somebody to go up there, and then he was able to challenge many people, and they did excellently, that. But our leaders, are they challenging us? At the end of the day, the president is going to speak English over there.
Is what we are watching challenging?
No.
How does it add on to development? Is it challenging?
It's about the fact that he's a very good communicator and is going to speak good English over there. At the end of the day, I want to see the president, making sure that any statement that comes from him is so challenging, is such that it's going to, bring the spirit of Africanism. It's going to bring the spirit of Ghana. It's going to bring that spirit of Kwame Nkrumah, where make sure that everybody was well connected, such that such a statement is going to make sure that every sector of the economy, Kamari, don't be tired when I'm talking about the subject of oil and gas, because it is something very important. This one, nobody can blame Kwame Nkrumah. We discovered it under President Kufuor's time. And now, during President Mahamad's time, we are producing oil in commercial quantity. How are we bargaining such that we'll be able to get maximum share of the oil find? This one, every Ghanaian is talking about the fact that our economy is bad, whatever is bad. At the end of the day, what are we going to use to shape our economy? It is about our natural resources. And are we bargaining for a proper type of contract such that it will make Ghanaians get maximum benefit from the oil find? All over the world, we are saying that over 81 countries producing oil in commercial quantity, they've signed onto agreement we call production sharing agreement. Ghana, what is our bargaining skills? Are we using maximum bargaining skills such that we'll be able to get maximum share of the oil find? It looks as if we are throwing everything there because the white man has come to discover oil, so we have to give them almost about 79%. Whilst Ghanaian, Something that UN Charter talks about, the fact that we need to get a maximum share of our natural resources benefit.
I want to look at that. I want us to look at that
over there.
I want us to look at that closely later
and do critical analysis whether we are doing what is proper.
I agree with you. We'll look at that later on in the conversation, where, because I don't think it's just with the oil sector. We seem to always be on the weaker end of the bargain or negotiation table every time we'd have to bargain for anything at all. So we'll look at that. We'll try to figure out what the problem is. But let's look at today's celebration. We've seen independence in retrospect. Let's look at today's celebration, achieving transfer. I mean, in spite of all that's going on, I don't even get the head or tail of it. But it's a nice sight to behold. I've not seen these people before. Achieving transformation through national unity. That is the theme for this year's celebration. A good one?
Yeah, a good one, for sure. And that is what we have been fighting for. I mean, you need to transform. And in another way of putting it, we are talking about transformation in terms of our development. So for sure, it is a theme that I will actually, go by. And we need to now think of how do we get that transformation. The question is not about putting themes. Themes are for reflection of those who share in that theme. So as Ghanaians, do we all understand what we mean by we want to have a transformative economy? Do we as a nation have any strategy that will help us to transform our economy? Those are the questions that we should ask before even putting the themes there. If only the theme is also there to provoke us to think of how to do one, then I'll be very happy to share with the team. But if it is there, as usual, just to put words together and then come and then justify a particular expenditure, public expenditure, then I will have a problem with that. And that is where I think I tend to believe that we have gone wrong over the years. Coming this year, let's hope that this transformative agenda will really work. Now, we talk about transformation, and as a nation, you ask yourself, do we have any national development plan? We have the Ghana Shared Growth and Development Agenda.
We'll look at that. I want David to share his thoughts on it. By the way, I think that transformation is just a replacement for all the other words we've heard over time.
So justifying your
over time. David, what do you think about the theme?
When you talked about transformation, it's all about a change in leadership, a change in the way we do things. It's about changing the way our leaders, do things. Are we changing, or we are still saluting the status quo? As soon as you made mention of the word transformation, then you are departing from the old way of doing things. You are bringing in different ideas, bringing in different, methodology of doing things. So that is how we need to look at transformation. And so, are we transforming this country? Are we putting in structures, systems, and strategy in place such that we will not continue to salute, the colonial, system of ruling? Are we putting in measures such that everybody will be able to, feel part and parcel of the society, that this is the way we need to do, things in the right perspective manner? So change comes with a whole lot of things. And that is why I said that the president, at the end of the day, you shouldn't only speak English, but you should be able to bring a certain challenge, challenging our institutions. If you take KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Legon, and other tertiary institutions, the president needs to challenge every state institution, such that they will be able to do the right thing. We have Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the name very crafty way. What are they doing? Are they transforming the economy? We expect them to be so challenged, said that KNUST by now, they should have been producing a lot of goods or machineries or training many people, such that we can, even traffic lights, KNUST, Kumasi, Science and Technology.
I think if we give them the opportunity, they'll be able to
those
do
are the things
I just want to tell our viewers.
Just like I made mention of the fact that JF Kennedy
David, just hold on a bit for me. I just want to tell our viewers, you're seeing an all-female Motorcade contingency displaying the scale of the use of the motors on your screen. Obviously, the president is very excited to see our women do this.
I'm equally very elated and happy to see this.
To see an all-female.
As a serious gender advocate, I'm so happy to see how women can really do things and do it better. And I've always asked the question, over 50% of the population of Ghana are women, and they are more than the men. And therefore, if you intentionally or unintentionally deny the capacities and then the capabilities and then the contributions of this half of your population, then you are doomed. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are.
And take a look at the First Lady. She's obviously excited about this. Perhaps wishing she could do same.
It's not women alone should be happy. You know, I have always have that argument. I've always have that argument. When women are progressing, men will rather be more happier. Because in any case, when women are able to develop, then it has more trickle-down effect to men than when men are able to develop.
I think this is just for show. Let's come back to the conversation. I think it's just for show. Let's come back to the conversation. Now, this time, with the 58th Independence Day anniversary, the theme of transformation is hinged on national unity. Last year, it was hinged on cutting down on imports and promoting Made in Ghana. Do we have a situation with national unity?
I think whether transformation, through national unity or Made in Ghana, or patronizing Made in Ghana, all are embodied in one particular agenda of change for the better. But yes, national unity, of recent times, we are seeing challenges to that. I always feel happy when they are playing back those days during the independence statements by Kwame Nkrumah and some of the songs and then some of the appellations that signify that we are one people and then we're having a common destiny. And I could see during those days, Muslims, Christians, and everybody coming on board without even thinking about where I'm coming from, without knowing whether I'm a Frafra man or I'm a Kosasi or I'm a Ashanti or a Ghana. And at that point, you could see that unification. Down the line, we have done a number of things to be able to continue this national unity. Along the line, we broke out of that because of selfish interests of individuals and certain institutions. For instance, the church, the mosque have been superseded by people along the line who divided us rather than unifying us. So we can't talk of national unity without touching on these institutions because we see ourselves as Ghanaian. But when it comes to religion, you see yourself as a Catholic or a Christian and a Muslim. When it comes to ethnicity, we see ourselves as an Ashanti than being a Ghanaian or be a Frafra man or man or woman or than being a Ghanaian. And that is where we should have been able to continue from independence, the structures that were put in place to eliminate some of these things. And we could see the nature of schooling, where students were brought from down north or from the northern sector, and then school in southern sector, and then vice versa. And that actually made it possible for us to have unity. Unfortunately, because of the economics of tribalism, because of the economics of religion, has made people to really entrench that division. For instance, it's more easy to say to gain more political or economic or financial resources by aligning yourself to one particular ethnic group. It is true, we cannot run away from it, that by virtue of the fact that you belong to a certain ethnic group, it is easy for you to get a job.
Indeed.
Of course.
Yeah, in Ghana.
In Ghana. It is undeniable the fact that so far as you belong to a particular religion, you find it easy to get a certain type of jobs. And for the sake of your economic reasons or economic promoting your economic interests, people tend to rather promote that. By virtue of the fact that you are a pastor and you promote a particular language in your church, you get more worshippers. I get the point. By virtue of the fact that you are a pastor and you belong to one political party, well, you will get more congregations.
This is the first time I'm hearing.
I am touching on these things because it is there are things that we have to agree. There are things that are happening. We can't talk of national unity without really looking at what is really dividing us. We have to. go deeper into the situation and agree.
Are we not creating, David?
I get it.
Are we not creating this division in our minds? And really,
there are certain places.
There's no problem, and we could deal with this.
By virtue of my name, I'm Asa Mohammed. By virtue of my name, it's easy to associate me to a Muslim. I have certain challenges in certain environments. By virtue of the fact that I come out and say that, or we are doing a prayer and I put the sign of the cross, people tend to have different perceptions about me and tend to rather welcome me more. I get the point. I'm saying this because I've been a practicing Muslim. I was born as a Muslim. Along the line, I became a Christian. And I don't feel shy to tell you that there's that discrimination. I get it. And both religions have been perfect. By whatever reason that I change, it's my personal reasons. I don't condemn any religion. Look, by virtue of the fact that you belong to certain ethnic group, your church can grow or it can crumble.
David.
Yes. So religion, because of the economics of religion, but not the spirituality of it. Because of the economics of it, we have entrenched tribalism in religion. We have entrenched tribalism in politics, not for any reason, for the economic gain. And you know, we always tell you that the human interest has always been the cause of all the troubles that we have. The personal interest of the individual has always been the cause of all the troubles, be it in economics or whatever political analysis. And for that matter, we have to now look at how do we create structures that will make it impossible for you to gain politically, economically, by creating that division. So if you know very well that if I decide to treat somebody by virtue of the fact that it's an Ashanti, I'm not going to gain anything because the system is made such a way that you cannot deny this person. The system is made such a way that, look, if you recognize him as a Muslim, it is not going to gain anything for you. If you don't recognize him, you are not going to gain anything from it. Therefore, you are forced to what? Together.
David, are we exaggerating the issue where we fear we could get into some sort of religious conflict? Are we exaggerating that issue?
We are not exaggerating. I think that we need to find a way of minimizing this kind of tension coming within the country for some few months now. And so that is why the topic, transformation, into a national unity is very important. So we want to see the president, to become more like a transformational leader, telling us that there is a need for us to depart from the old, way of doing things. The president needs to challenge every Ghanaian that enough is enough. Let's change our way of doing things. So the president needs to speak with a certain level of voice that will ignite a certain passion. It will invoke a certain, culture or a certain spirit in us so that we can change from the way we are doing things. We should not continue to be begging from one point to another. And Mr. Mohammed, he has started a change already. He said that he used to be a Muslim. Now he has realized that no, there is a need for him to change to a certain doctrine, and that is why he is now a Christian. So,
but I wouldn't call that change.
It is a change
necessarily. Everybody needs. He did that personally.
Yes. I'm using it as an example. Not into religious point of view, but I'm saying that the president, as our leader, he needs to have that key, such that the key will open a certain door, such that Ghanaians will all transform, will change from the way we are doing things. And the president needs to challenge every state institution that we need to change the way we are doing things, such that every Ghanaian will see that there is a certain level of paradigm, shift. You see, if we are not able to see those things and everybody continue to do the way he wants things to be done in a routine manner, then we will never experience any change. And then our independence will be a bit meaningless, like Kwame Nkrumah said. So what we are saying is that now we want to see unity in the country. Muslims, Christians, or any other religion that you may belong to. Our constitution says or depicts that we need to respect every religion, but we have to also appreciate the fact that our religious right is not absolute. So whatever that we are championing, the state interest must be first. Nobody, no Christians or Muslims should say that my religion supposed to be seen as supreme or whatever. I mean, as soon as we begin to be doing those things, then we are driving home this kind of insurgency in Nigeria and any part of the world that they are driving home, and those things are turning those countries into a certain level of insecurity. And so Ghanaians, Muslims, Christians, we must see ourselves as, you know, one people, trying to make sure that this country becomes, you know, very coherent, such that we'll be able to do certain things that will benefit the country, rather than saying that, taking an entrenched position, I'm a Muslim, so I have to define, or I have to defend the Muslim principle, I'm a Christian, and no, I have to defend the back. Let's come to the middle ground, such that we'll be able to make sure that this country unite and we'll be able to, you know, transform ourselves.
It's a good time for the president to say a thing or two.
Just a second.
After what we've heard over the past few weeks.
Yeah, I just wanted to make reference to one or two countries, and you understand how, when we say unity, you need to really plan and work towards it. Look at Germany in 1994. They came together from West and East Germany. And if you go to Berlin, you see how the Berlin Wall was, was taken off, and you see the two leaders kissing, literally kissing, and it's not on a romantic kissing, but this was what? A unification kissing. And they kiss to signify that, look, we are now one. They embraced each other, and as soon as that was done, and the Berlin Wall was broken, the East and West Germany became one. And from 1994 up to date, Germany has become the largest economy in Europe and then the third economy in the world. Now, look at the countries that also have that homogeneous society, like Malaysia. We have more Indians and Chinese in Malaysia than the Malays. And Chinese are about 40% in Malaysia. And look, you go to Malaysia and you understand how unification really works. Yes, they still recognize themselves as Chinese. They still recognize themselves as Indians. They still recognize themselves as Malays. But the agenda was one: to achieve economic growth, to achieve economic freedom from the West. And as we speak now, Malaysia boasts of being one of the countries that can boast of economic growth and development, and we have always been referring to that. So yes, it is the time is right now for us to really sing, practice, and live by that what they call transformative agenda. But a mere rhetoric of saying it will not work. There must be action, and the action is not going to be by the president alone. It is a national agenda, and all of us must feel that we need it. Individually, I must feel that I need that change or that unification. You must feel the same. The leaders must feel the same, until we are able to drum that essence of that unity to every individual, until people are able to see the benefit of unity, until people are able to see to suffer from disunity, then they will not see the essence of unity. Then these are the things that we need to do, and this must start from a particular generation. And I'm happy that this generation, we are trying to champion it, but I don't see that zeal in us. We are a generation I have always described as being a what do you call it? A selfish generation. A selfish generation that has always thought of our individual interests. And I have always said
that's how the world has become.
Economic interest of the individual. Look, we can have our individual selfish interests, but if it is not promoting the national agenda, look, no individual can grow bigger than the state.
Indeed.
Yes, and for all of us to enjoy, for you, the individual, to even enjoy as an individual in that state, the state must create that opportunity for you. If you go to Europe and you see those who labored, and now they are enjoying nice transport systems that go by time, you will go to shops, no matter wherever village you are, the Aldi shop in Germany will be there for you. The Dutchman's shop will be there for you at any location in Germany. That is a stage that was created by a particular generation. And they fought, they died, they worked hard for it. And now they have that economy. So until we suffer from our disunity, until we start getting benefit of unity, it will not instigate us to be driving towards unity aggressively. And we need to be aggressive. We need to be aggressive.
Positively aggressive.
Yes, positively aggressive. If not, we are not going to get anywhere. Look, you sometimes hear certain statements that, oh, the country is ruled by a northerner. I get in it. And another person will stand somewhere, another point in time, oh, the country is ruled by the sadness. And I always ask that question. Is it by mistake that God gave us the cardinal points so that you can describe people by cardinal points? We are a country called Ghana.
As obviously,
I don't see north in Ghana, the word Ghana.
You've made your point about the theme. It's a good one chosen by the president and his team. We would cross fingers and wait for this president to make his speech. But then again, for me, I think that perhaps at the time Kwame Nkrumah won us independence or led the fight to independence, there must have been a lot of zeal at that time to make Ghana work. Somewhere along the line, we lost that. And that's what's caused the discontinuity. Now, that is not to hold brief for the current government and what's going on. They saw the problems, they thought they could do it, and they came in. So let me come back to my point about the discontinuity. At what point did the discontinuity occur, so much so that the Ghanaian persons or the Ghanaian people's attitude slumped, that zeal left us, our bid to want to develop and have independence, not just from our colonial rulers, but economic independence, political independence, social independence? At what point did we lose all that?
As a development student, I will tell you that the point of departure was in 1966. When, as a country, we decided to truncate all the plans by overthrowing the dreamer of the country, Ghana. At any point in time, the history of any country that has gone through development, that has developed now, there's always a point where somebody came in and vigorously, visionarily, and was able to carve the agenda. India, Mahatma Gandhi, and the rest. In Ghana, we had that opportunity. At independence, we did not crumble. Other countries got into independence by people who were not visionary, so they rather crumbled, and along the line they picked up. We were lucky. We had a very good person, somebody with that vision from the onset, and got independence for us. 1966 was the point of departure. And since then, we've had these challenges of this continuity. Let me tell you one thing. Countries that have really succeeded in their development agenda have had that consistency in leadership. India, since Mahatma Gandhi, has been led by almost the same party. If you go to Malaysia, the party that, or the group of people that took Malaysia to independence are still leading the country. China had a little break, but continue on from the same people who had independence for them. Singapore, you get to Bangkok, and you really understand how a country can be transformed. Now, taking lessons from this, I will conclude that Ghana made a mistake by taking Kwame Nkrumah off. People had a lot of concerns, yes, from human rights perspective. People have their concerns about the fact that he was a dictator, he was
at some point he seemed to have lost
he was not respecting human rights and all that. But the question I always ask you is that where was human rights when Europe was developing? Europe developed out of what? A violation of human rights. They picked all the strong people of the world, assembled them there, Africans as slaves, and then worked. There was no concept of human rights. So the development agenda is a very difficult and a very tricky one.
But that's very debatable.
Yes, there are some theories.
What you just said.
So one, you will have to understand that at any point in time, you have to deviate from some of these things. If you go to countries like Singapore, you'll be very surprised. You need a license to chew chewing gum. If you are chewing chewing gum, if you're going to Bangkok or you are going to Singapore, be aware of that fact. Look, there are certain stages in the development agenda that you need to be very, very, very crude. Because all the people will not see what you are seeing. As a visionary, sometimes you have seen the destination, but the destination is rough. There are certain things that you have to take. People will criticize them. But unfortunately, if we were able to continue that agenda, could you imagine the way Ghanaians were considered to be one during Nkrumah's time. Can you imagine the way the agenda of the state properties or state industrialization, people were committed to go and work in state farms. They were not coerced. Yeah, some of them were coerced. But you know, sometimes you have to coerce people to move by your agenda. And that was the pain point until we are able to get there. Now my fear is that
I'll let you share that fear, and have David share his thoughts on this particular subject.
I agree with my brother.
1966 for you too.
1966, yes. It is 1966 school that has led us to this situation to a large extent. Every country in the world has gone through a certain level of checkered history, if I could call it so, even including United States of America. At a certain point in time, United States of America, they were killing all the red Indians and all that. You read through American history. They were killing all the red Indians, so barbaric. But now they've all stopped. Go to China and all those.
What's the point with that? What's the point with the violation of bending the rules at some point?
PDA, detentive or whatever. Kwame Nkrumah didn't just started by imprison people. People were trying to kill Kwame Nkrumah. People were plotting all kinds of coup against Kwame Nkrumah.
Perhaps he became a bit paranoid, a bit too apprehensive.
No, at a certain point in time. But I will not sit there whilst you want to kill me, and so I should sit there for you to come and kill me before I will learn a certain lesson. No, at a certain point in time, people were trying to kill Kwame Nkrumah, and he said, no, I will not sit there for you to come and kill me. So he was also making sure. Look at Ametewe, read the history of Ghana very well. Kwame Nkrumah, at a certain point, people were misbehaving. And that was why I will not justify the PDA. It is not good. As far as human rights issues or democracy is concerned, I will never justify the PDA system that Kwame Nkrumah brought. But however, at a certain point in time, certain leaders will take a certain measures, to defend themselves. And it was a defensive method that Kwame Nkrumah chose because certain group of people were so becoming ungovernable. And so Kwame Nkrumah wanted to defend himself. And that is why he took those actions, which also led to the coup in the country. But we need to establish the point that this country, we've gone through a certain level of processes. People, have misconducted themselves one way or the other. But now, as we have country, we cannot repeat those histories anymore. Now, what is our president doing? For us, I want our president to challenge every Ghanaian that all is not lost. We can do it. That is why the topic, transformational. We need to see the president and the presidency changing.
The beginning of
their lifestyle, their behavior, their leadership style, their attitude, everything needs to come to a fore to challenge Ghanaians that, yes, let's try to do certain things in a different way so that every Ghanaian will benefit. We should not be repeating all those histories without making sure that we change the way our economy is managed. Look at these energy crises that we've been talking about for so long. NDC made sure that 2008 thereabout in their manifesto is so brilliant. Those people who start to put all those things together.
That's the bit of the conversation I want us to get to.
But as we speak now, let's ask ourselves that energy crisis, what are they doing?
That's a bit of the conversation I want us to get
onto. The time that they assumed power, 2009.
From the point of discontinuity, I believe that the point of discontinuity, which both of you agree, is 1966, is the beginning of our problems, or was the beginning of our problems, whichever area we want to look at it. Now, before I come to what your fear is about the whole departure thing, what could we have done after 1966 to put us on track?
It was difficult. Reading the history, I was not born there, but reading the history and being a student of development, I will tell you that it was difficult because there was stability. It was led by personal interest, not the national interest. And things that are led by personal interest, you must understand that will always satisfy the individual, will not the nation. It was going to be difficult to reorganize themselves because there was a lineup of people wanting to also taste that power. Because they thought the power that Kwame Nkrumah was enjoying was so juicy, was so so romantic that
people were power curious.
Yes, curious. So it was like a lineup of aggrandizing individuals who wanted to use the powers that they had in the military to also taste that power. And that is the same thing that happened in Nigeria. And lineup of generals everyone wanted to be a president. So the same thing that was planned in Ghana. So you could see it started by Ankara and then Kotoka, and then the succession continued. So you could see that it was more of interest, personal interest. So at that point, it was not going to be easy. It was not going to be possible for you to be able to, as a leader, come and not pursue your personal interest and then think of national development agendas. So you could see during those days, I cannot trace any workable national development plan that worked.
But from that time on,
1970. 75, thereabout, when Acheampong and Co came. Acheampong also came from those same line of succession. But he came also with one agenda that he thought there was a possibility that the nation could grow out of what we had. And therefore, he came in with that dependent model of development. And he made that possible by saying that eat what you grow and then grow what you eat. That agenda of self-reliance, you take the money, and then that anti-colonial approach was in him. And to an extent, not based on any strategic plan. His challenge was the fact that he was not guided by that intellectual and thoughtful plan. But he had an agenda, and it worked. And you trace the economic history of Ghana, you can see how he has contributed. From that point to 79, when it's like all of us were now reflecting and seeing that we have left something behind. We all, at that point, felt that we had left something behind. We had left something good to go. We had thrown the baby with the water, and therefore we needed to go back and pick it. But at the point, the structure of leadership was not promoting that, and therefore we said that we needed to change. And the 79 revolution, as we read it, it will tell you that all Ghanaians were all up for it, that there was the need for us to change, to go back and pick what we had left behind. Yes, we succeeded in that coup, and along the line, that agenda was also truncated in a way because of the selfless interest of other people. I will not say maybe the one who promoted the revolution, but probably himself and others were lost track of the agenda. And that ambition, that euphoria that caught them in 1979 was not seen in the 1980s to the 1990s. And until we decided that we'll go democratic.
But as for me, I think that's and David.
Let me just land on a very good
quickly
point.
then.
And you see, and that is where I say that even our going to the multi-party democracy again was quite of a difficulty. And yes, we had pressure from the external forces, the Bretton Woods institutions, and the international world, because we needed to be supported, because we had lost the capabilities, the knowledge, and then the experiences, and then the enthusiasm that was built in us by our forefathers. We had lost all what our forefathers had taught us to do, and we now stood there without any reflection, without any grandfather. And we now thought that no, an outsider had to help us, and they had to dictate to us so that we can go 4-year democracy and all that. Now, I'm not condemning the 4-year democracy, but if you look at countries that have gone that way, from infancy, from independence, they have not gone anywhere. And Africa has been given that blueprint. And even within Africa, countries that have violated it in a bit have had some level of stability. Look, in Burkina Faso, I always make reference to that country. Yes, until even the ousting of this man. But you can see structures being created because of continuity of leadership. So to me, it will be difficult for us. My fear, as I was saying, is that we have gotten ourselves into the hands of the the external powers to the extent that they dictate to us what they want us to be like, so that we end up becoming the heroes of wood and doors of water. Because yes, in the theory of development of underdevelopment by Gunda Pact and Samira Minunko will tell you that, look, the developed countries will always want the developing countries to be where we are, because it is because of our situation that they are developed. So for that fact, this our multi-party democracy is a panacea to the development of the developed countries. So for that matter, my fear is, can we make it? Now, political parties are dictating the pace. All what they are looking for is what they can use to convince you and I to vote for them in 4 years. There is no plan in Ghana that is going beyond 4 years. And there's no plan in Ghana that goes beyond 4 years. And I always say this as one time, I mean, as sometimes a consultant to local levels and then doing some of these development things. And I'll tell you very well that there is no plan in Ghana that goes beyond the thinking of 4 years. Be it medium-term district development plans, be it national development plans.
We'll come to our development plans.
Yes.
We'll probably even start with Kwame Nkrumah's 7-year plan.
Yeah.
But let's, and David, you can come in here. The issue of our point of awakening from 1966 there on. Because for me, I think that there could have been a time when the Ghanaian people woke up from the slumber of power curiosity. And we could have chosen a time from then, before democratic rule or elected leaders to the ballot box. At what point could we have hatched that awakening that we may have missed?
You see, I think that after the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, the system was a bit, very rough. There is instability in the country. So whichever leader, comes, he wants to champion a certain leadership culture of protecting himself, making sure that he sustains power. He becomes very powerful. So you could see that individualistic character in those, leaders. But Kwame Nkrumah was having a very, bigger vision beyond even in Ghana. So I normally use this term that Kwame Nkrumah had what I would call helicopter factor thinking, ability to think beyond average human level, such that he was thinking about Africa, not Ghana alone. But along the line, all the leaders that came, Achampon and all those people, including our own former President Rawlings, Liman, and President Kufuor Mills, and all those people, are you seeing any sense of urgency in them? The readiness to challenge Ghanaians, the readiness to ensure that, we govern the country such that every Ghanaian feel and have that sense of belongingness.
Where could we have hatched that recovery from discontinuity in when discontinuity occurred in 1966? Where could we have hatched that recovery?
You see, I think after our, until we attain democracy, or 1992 thereabout, even the democracy was imposed, just like Mr. Mohammed, said. The foreign powers and our civil society organization, it was a win. That was almost like growing all over the world. When you read the third waves of democracy by Samuel P. Huntington, he was talking about the third waves of democracy and how African countries were hit by this theory of democracy and all that. So it was more like a pressure coming from the foreigners and even our civil society, Ghana Bar Association, other religious bodies here and there, saying that no, now we need to go into democracy because we've practiced this military dictatorship government which has never benefited us. So let's jump into a new phenomenon, of democracy here and there. And along the line too, because it was a very new concept to us, we didn't realize the essence of it. Even you could realize that what is democracy? We are talking about transparency, we are talking about good governance, we are talking about inclusiveness, we are talking about how we can put structures and systems in place so that our governance system will reflect in various levels of our society. You could realize that most of our leaders wasn't in tune with that because it was more like a change. It was more like a practice that we are not used to it. It is not in our DNA. So very difficult for us to conform ourselves to it. So I think that, right from 1992, when we began democracy concept here and there, we could have seen a certain level of agency, the need for us to do certain things in a very right manner. But I think that our leaders, they weren't strong in their mindset enough. That is why we've lost to this end. And I think that it is about time, we challenge ourselves. It is about time that we change from the way we are doing things. If the president does not challenge some of us or challenge Ghanaians, we'll continue to be in this kind of, quagmire until thy kingdom come. And even our next generation will continue to blame ourselves. So it is about time that our president, challenge every Ghanaian. That is where transformational leadership comes in. We should be able to transform our lines of thinking, the way we are doing things here and there. And I told you of this story by, J.F. Kennedy, when he challenged American that no, now 10 years down the line, somebody might get to the space there. And 10 years, there was a result. What is our president doing? He has to challenge every state institution, including the universities, such that we'll be able to transform this country, we'll be able to turn our mind to be able to govern this country properly. So I think that there is much expectation from this current generation. And our president need to, lead the way for us to follow. But when we see a certain level of lackadaisical attitude, I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it, am I going to offend this class of people, that kind of laissez-faire attitude. We want to see a very pragmatic leader ready to prepare all of us to change.
Well, I just want to remind our viewers that you're watching live coverage of the 58th Independence Day celebration of Ghana. We're live here on Joy News. We're also live at the Independence Square where the celebration is taking place. We'll go in and out of the Black Star Square as and when it's necessary. We expect the president to give his also important speech at this particular event. We expect some leaders to also speak at this event. But like I said, most importantly, President Mahama's speech would wait fervently for that and listen to what the president had to say. But over the time, I've been discussing our history with two gentlemen. Assam Mohammed is lecturer at the University of Development Studies. David Agbe is the executive director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. And you should also expect that in a bit we should join Akrofi Smart Abia, anchor on the ground, to share with us what is happening. I wish this young lady in the shots now well, so that after doing all this, you don't go and sit in a classroom without lies to learn, or you don't go and sit in front of a bank to do your homework. I want to take a listen to what she has to say, just briefly.
Ghana, Oman Penny, Omai Penya Adin Sakra, Efri Biakuye, Asumje, Ada Mauman, Ipunso Ghana here. Dramani Mahama Yenin se Uze Obe Bunu Nyasa Awode Ninim Die Ashauma Ube to me the Ghana man Beko Akodu Bose Asa no so now wait to me the aye to my day. I'm a my Ghana, it's Kadera. Koso nite boy boy. Kadera. Malaga, Malaga, Ghana, Ebibenu, Yadamwase.
Our master drama is Francis Obobi. Narrators are Elizabeth Foley, Deborah Ampedu, Marilyn Addy, and all students from Kimbo Senior High Technical Schools. The pupils were taken through rehearsals by Mr. Justice Sronipa, Accra Metro Cultural Coordinator. This was under the careful supervision of Mr. Freeman Aguri, Director, National Coordinator for Cultural Education Program, GES. Thank you.
Anniversary address to the good people of the Republic of Ghana.
Well, thanks for watching our coverage of the 58th Independence Anniversary of Ghana. We'll continue this coverage, the discussion here in the studio. In a bit, though, we'll go outside of the studio, join our colleagues at the Black Star Square, where the event is taking place. We have a few colleagues across town gauging the mood as Ghana celebrates its 58th anniversary. Now, one new gentleman has joined our conversation. To my very far left is George Anti. He's a member of the Concerned Citizens of Ghana. And you already know Asar Mohammed, who is a lecturer at the University of Development Studies. David Agbe is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amano. Thank you very much, George, for joining us. Thank you, too, for your patience as well. George, since you just joined us, I'm going to have you start the conversation this time. Okay. Your thoughts on the president's speech?
Nothing short of the usual. We all know the president is an excellent communicator. So it was nothing short of what we have been experiencing in the past. He touched on issues that we expected him to touch on, talking on the fact that the attitude, needs to change. And if the attitude needs to change, what I would pick from that would be that it must change from the very top. It has been said for the umpteenth time that we need to change the direction of leadership in this country. It is not as much a problem as the personnel as it is a problem of the thinking. And if the president is saying that the attitudes need to change, I hope that the people who form the government with him, his ministers and all of that, will listen to him and indeed work towards changing the direction of leadership in this country. Because where the ship is sailing towards, it doesn't look good. One other thing that the president mentioned that I thought was significant was the fact that there is no political power that is worth, fighting, on the basis of religion, religious strife, civil strife, ethnic strife, and all of that. Political power is just not worth it. I sincerely hope that members of his party, members of the NPP, members of all the other political parties would listen to this. Ethnocentrism, ethnic politics, tribal politics is a problem in this country. We have this trend of, religion and education, that debate that is currently raging. I hope that the stakeholders would listen. This will not just be a talk shop, but then they would act on it. If you have political power in the midst of war, what can you use that power for? And let us not think that we are so far removed from certain countries that have, experienced civil strife, ethnic strife, religious strife. We are blessed. Let us not stretch our blessing. Yeah.
Indeed. Your thoughts on the speech?
I think a good one, at least it has the elements of unifying us. It has elements of encouraging us to move away from where we are. It contains the sober reflective nature, and it really, in retrospect, and try to see the challenges that we've had as a nation. So I don't think I have much in terms of the content, but the problem is the practice. So yes, he has said it, but can we do that? Are we going to do that? And that's where the subject of discussion, I will pour much of my discussion on. And to be frank with you, there is one problem that we have in this country, where the issue of over-politicization of issues has become the agenda of the day. And that connects to the point I landed on before we went on break, that there is no plan in Ghana that goes beyond 4 years. And it is always intentional because, one, you are looking for political power. Let me bring some little theory here and tell you that political parties, by definition, are what we call mutual beneficial organizations. If you look at the organization, the theory of organizations. And the beneficial organizations are organizations that always want to get power to share among members. But it's always society, the strength of society, that prevents political parties from being selfish and doing things for everybody. And that is the problem that we have in this country. We've not been able to, as we said, we lost that since independence, and now individualism caught into us. So everybody is looking at how much can I gain, and therefore people tend to align themselves to political parties for the sake of getting what they want to get for themselves. So when the party gets power, everybody is struggling to hold power to be able to get the benefit that he ended or he participated in that power struggle for. So for the sake of that, it's difficult for us to really do some of the things that the president is asking us to do. We sometimes listen to political, party representatives, and if you beat them outside the discussion or public discussion, they'll tell you their peace of mind. But before they are in the realm of that political affairs, they tend to say it as the way the political party want to hear. So moving forward, we need to understand that yes, democracy is a good model, but it is the way we practice it. Unfortunately, we have taken the West aspect of democracy. Professor Limazuri said that Africa has always copied the West from the West, and therefore we've copied the culture of wearing the wristwatch, but have copied forgotten to take the culture of punctuality. These are all the attitudes that we are talking about, that we have jumped to always wanting to see how, jumping to always enjoy the good things, but we have not got the culture of sacrifice. Ghana has tended to develop the culture of criticism, but has lost or has failed to adopt the culture of giving alternative solutions. Ghana has jumped to accepting the culture of enjoying westernization, but has failed to copy the culture of how the Western people did it. And this is the problem that we have, the attitude. For instance, political leaders travel and they see how those countries have been, and then they will tell you the history. And any of the political leaders, when they travel, they try to go to some of the museums and then they tell them the history of how those countries developed. But when they come back to Ghana, who is there to take the first step? And I've always said, look, attitude change is more of individual than national. It's national. The national aspect of attitude change is that you should create the structures and the punishment for maintaining a bad attitude. But it is the individual who has to take the agenda. And it is the pressure on you. One, you and I go to, say, Singapore. As soon as you get there, you want to live the way the system wants you to live. You come back to same Ghana, and it's a problem. We don't want to take the first step. I've always tell people that, look, this issue of sanitation, we are fighting for attitude change.
I would let us get into the kinds of attitudes that we need to change. David, are you happy with the speech? Did it meet your expectations?
No. Although everybody, including my colleagues here, appreciate the fact that the president is a good communicator. As for communication, you can't take it away from him, but when you study communication strategically. I think that all that he has been doing, it is a bit of, you know, ordinary. I want him to, you know, energize the whole society. His statement, his pronouncement need to carry the nation along. We should see a sense of agency. We should see some pragmatic steps.
What would
we
you
should
have liked
see a
to
sense
see
of
in
direction and decision-making processes. We should see all those things reflecting such that it could invoke a certain spirit of Ghanaian, you know, style. I want to see that energy, like Kwame Nkrumah, the way Kwame Nkrumah was so
but
pragmatic.
They're different people.
They are very different people. But you see, President is talking about change, and change comes with, you know, so many things, you know, transformational. To bring all the nation along.
I think he's made the
come up
point.
with a
He's
certain
asked
level
that
of
we
energy.
collectively push for that transformation.
Precisely. But I want to see some kind of weight in his statement. You see.
So what he said today has no weight.
In fact, I see it a bit of, you know, more cautious, not trying to offend each other. But you should be able to, you know, carry us that energy, certain level of enforcement, so that it could wake everybody up that this is the way we need to transform this country. But when you say it like, you know, ordinary, like change and those, it doesn't carry weight more. You see, that is what is lacking in the president's statement. Everybody, every Ghanaian liked the way he conduct himself very well. But we need to see some power behind his statement.
You want some power behind
we want some power behind his statement. Said that it could wake, even if we are sleeping, it could wake us up.
George, attitudinal change caught your attention. What are those attitudes we need to change in this country?
Well, let me start with the citizenry. The problems or the challenges of this country, you know, are so magnified that they are visible to the blind and audible to the deaf. The challenges that we face in this country, the energy crisis, corruption, mismanagement of the public funds, it's a litany. If we want to list it, we'll probably spend the rest of the day here. Now, citizens need to be angry enough to demand what is due them from government. We are in a social contract with the government. We have given up part of our sovereignty. We are not going to, if I am wronged by my brothers here, I am not going to pick a machete and slash off their heads. I will go to court. There's due process. I'm paying my tax, you know, as a citizen. I expect certain basic things from government. That is the contract. Provide me with security, give me good roads, give me potable water, give me power, electricity, so that, you know, the food I have in my fridge or my freezer doesn't go bad, so that my baby who is in an incubator in a clinic will not die. These are basic things, right? So as citizens, we need to be angry enough. That's one change that should come. And the anger must be channeled in a positive way. We can be angry and decide to, you know, be disorderly and all of that. No, let's be angry within the confines of the law. If it is, you know, demanding accountability by taking institutions on, you know, through the court system, let's do it. If it's street protest, let's do it. If it's forums and all of that we need to organize and then help the government out if the government is not willing to think outside the box. Let's be angry enough as citizens to do these things and give governments the solutions. Some civil society groups have been doing it. You know, let's be angry enough to raise it to the next level as citizens. The politicians, the cynicism is too much. Over politicization of issues, as has already been said, and then the political equalization is too much. It has to stop. So 8 years back, somebody came and didn't do hoot. Well, the people voted that person out. You are the one who is in office. Stop telling me what the problems are and fix them. Stop telling me that Party X did worse than you did, so we should clap for you. No. That is mediocrity at its best. If you are touting your achievements and the citizens are telling you, Mr. President, or government, we don't feel these achievements in our lives. Listen, if citizens are angry and they protest, don't say they are going for a health walk. People are dying in this country. People are suffering in this country. So the attitudes must change from both ends. From government, let's stop the equalization and the over-politicization on partisan lines. It doesn't solve problems. From citizens, if the government is bereft of ideas to solve the problems of this nation, let's provide them with solutions where we can. Where we cannot, let's be angry enough. If it's corruption, let's fight it. Because at the end of the day, the politicians knock our heads together. While we are busy fighting, they rape this country.
Indeed, indeed. You spoke of implementation. I mean, the president could come out and say all the nice things and all the beautiful things that will dazzle us. But when it comes to action, we see very little. How do we change that?
Yeah, that is where the transformational change also takes another dimension of whether the change that you are looking for, people share the same vision with you. And you know, until people begin to share the same vision, they will not be ready to work. So they need to be coerced at certain point in time to even believe in your vision. And when they now see that the vision is good, then they will definitely work towards achievement of that vision. So we need to, as much as possible, look at the structures in place. And you see, in Ghana, the individual persons have become the institutions. To a point that you go to certain places, I work mostly with district assemblies, and you go to certain places and the district chief executive tend to be the district. Now the district has a medium-term plan. That is where they now pick their annual work plans. Now some of the DCs will just put aside that medium-term plan. There's no plan in that district. All what he wakes up in the morning and comes to the office and thinks to spend is where they should spend. And at the end of the day, that becomes the agenda of that district. Now, if you do not put any structures that can punish that DC or that will prevent that DC from behaving that way, then there will not be any action. So there must be, that advocacy for attitudinal change. But we have to put structures and institutions in place that will punish anybody who wants to change in a direction for his own or her favor. So those are some of the things that we need to do. But also, I think there's one particular change that we need seriously, the change for the youth to be active and work. You know, now there's because of politics, I will come to that later on. But you know, it is growing gradually into the youth of this country that it pays to be lazy. It pays to take your mouth and go to the radio station and insult or talk carelessly in favor of a particular political party, knowing very well that when they win power, I'll be rewarded. And overnight, the same people who did not work, the person did not even, when you are struggling to go and then do attachment and work and have experience somewhere, he sees you as a fool because every day he's inside a radio or television station, be at one political side. Now, that person, his party comes to power and he gets so much resources. Then do you think that the next time I will go and be looking for experiences and working hard to fight for my nation? I'll also go and do the same to get more money and quick money. So the culture of not working hard is creeping into the youth of this country. And just go around to the secondary schools. Starting from secondary schools. TESCOM, I will not feel shy to mention them. You see every good student who is very good talkative, who has all the ability to articulate, want to join TESCOM or TEN, because that's where you can talk more, and then when you come to the limelight, they'll identify you and then give you whatever position in power. And therefore, you become better off than your colleagues who have just finished secondary school. And then what will be the basis of those other colleagues to go and then further and gain any experience in a way? So that is another culture. That is another attitude. And I challenge the political parties. To be frank, if any political party thinks that is the youth of this country that can change this nation, they have to change that attitude. So attitude change must be looked at from different angles. And to now, I think one of the serious challenge to the development of this nation is that enemy called do it quick and get it quick. and it is the political party that's nurturing that. I will not feel shy to say it, because I am speaking today as a Ghanaian, and today is our independence and our birthday. And I, as a young man, have always said that I feel so bad to be part of this generation, to a point where people now say that, look, the only Ghanaian who is not corrupt is the Ghanaian who has not been given the opportunity to be corrupt. to what extent
interesting.
Do we want to live by this sort of, I mean, what do you call it, classifications? So to be frank with you, we are talking of change, but we have to change to see how the political parties change. Now, another important change that must happen now is a change to plan. A change to plan. I'm happy to hear, I mean, from a reliable source, that the Ministry of Economic Planning and Finance and Economic Planning, the Economic Planning Unit has been taken to the National Development Planning Commission. Look, you can be growing and not developing. A country can be growing and not developing, because if you have uncoordinated growth, then it will not lead to development. Because if you do not have a plan as to how you are going to do, a country may not be growing faster, but may be developing, because they have an agenda and they know that at this point we are having challenges and we are doing this and that to go around those challenges. Yes, we are hoping that when these challenges go off, we are going to go to this level, and therefore when we get that level, this is what we are going to do. But if you are just growing as we did, and at a point we had to be forced externally to rebase our economy until we got to realize
I would want us to look at the issue of growth. Perhaps after David has made his points.
Yeah.
Do we even know as a country what direction of growth we're headed? And I hope you all three of you think about it. David, first of all, what are those changes, attitudinal changes you'd want to see?
You see, you made mention of this strong word, implementation. The word implementation, before you can implement a certain idea, it comes from strategy. We need a strategy. It is that strategy that will be able to transform. It is that strategy that will lead us to how best we can practicalize certain things. So if you want to implement a certain idea, strategy first, you need to put in strategy. The strategy will give us a certain level of vision. Where is the president carrying us to? Is it a proper way such that he could have the followers like us following him? Because if you're a leader and you are not giving a sense of direction, the followers will not follow you. So the leader must carry us along. After that, you need to put in structures and systems. There should be structures in place. And the structures are different organs of government institutions. How are those institutions also helping the idea of the president, the idea of the strategy? There must be people, skillful people that Mr. Mohammed talked about. We should be able to appoint people who are competent enough to be able to champion the idea, to be able to ensure that those strategy becomes fruitful. And so there are a number of ways that we need to, make sure that we can implement a strategy. And if the leader is not strong enough, if the leader is not carrying us along, all of us will fall apart. A good leader is the one who has, followers. If not, you are just like taking a stroll within your own backyard. So the president needs to carry us along. Let us see the vision of the president. He's a very good communicator. And so communication also comes with strategy, plans.
So
when the president gives us the way forward, that this is my strategy, he needs to communicate it creatively to us. Then we can also buy into his idea. You see, so we want to see those things coming from the president.
David, I want you to start our conversation on growth. Where should it be? The president's strategy or the nation's? Which should it be?
You see, the strategy, we heard the president, was it last week? The State of the Nation address. He communicated very well. All the issues that he put out there, if you download all the document, read through, fine print, nice ones indeed. He touched on all the issues. In political communication, you have to ensure by telling your people what you have done, what you are doing, and what you want to do, which is more futuristics. He touched on all those things that when it comes to energy, short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures, this is what he's going to do as far as energy-related issues are concerned. But we said, okay, fine enough, all those things are brilliant. But why is it that 2008, they articulated all those things in their manifesto? Why is it that the situation we've caught in another web now, that all those fine print there, they couldn't do any of those things until the Dumso has hit us bad. Said that every Ghanaian is uncomfortable. So when you write all those 9 prints, you need to have that strategy of making sure that you work towards it so that your strategy could achieve a certain benefit. So growth comes with a certain level of strategy. From the top, we should be able to see their strategy, and then all of us will work towards it. If they don't tell us the strategy and the method, their methodology, all of us will just be doing an ordinary thing, and we don't want to be ordinary. The president must challenge us. Whoever is not performing.
Perhaps he should challenge himself too.
Precisely. Precisely. You see, the president, I mean, when you looked at him, you want him to, you know, be your leader. Personality, everything is there. But I want to see very pragmatic, you know, I mean, well-calculated attempt that he wants to drive this country very well. And that is what is lacking. When I see my president, I want him to inspire me. But I'm not seeing that inspiration coming from him. You see, I don't want him to sound more ordinary. I want him to put in plans, systems, and strategy, making sure that everybody will rally behind the president and say that, yes, this is my leader.
And so he's asking us to...
When he's in international arena talking, you see him, as for this man, I want him to be my leader.
He's asking us to collectively...
Practicality, there are a lot of things lacking. And I think that the people behind him must be able to, you know, wake the president up.
He's asking us to collectively push for transformation. You've mentioned the fact that he should carry us along the plan. George, do you know what the plan is? I mean, you and I will fall within the same.
I'm laughing.
Why are you laughing?
Yes, we are in the same pot of soup, if you want to call it that. Look, if you pick the manifesto, right, which was the basis upon which the president was elected into office, you look at the promises that were made in there, even focusing on the energy sector, what was said on generation, increasing generation capacity and all of that, and you look at where we are today, if you look at the number of promises that the president has made that have only turned out to be failed promises, I hear in the street that now the president is called the promise-dent. He has made promises to the point where we don't know where we are going. If you ask me what is the plan, I can show you the book, right? But on the ground, have I seen what is in the book? What is in the fine print, as David would call it, manifest into an actual change in human lives? I think the NDC spoke about dealing with people, there were 3 major points there. Let the president ask himself, let all the ministers of state ask themselves that, how many years down the line, what have they achieved when it comes to people? What have they achieved when it comes to, if it's the economy? What have they achieved when it comes to health? You know, how are all these things translating into the daily lives of the ordinary Ghanaian? Otherwise, your fine print means nothing to me. Your green book means nothing to me. You can say you tarred this road from here to here, you built a monkey sanctuary. If it doesn't benefit me, you understand me, there's no way I would follow you. If the direction isn't clear, if it's corruption we are fighting, and one of your strategies is that ministers who are found to have engaged themselves in financial malfeasance and all of that will be removed and prosecuted. We expect consistency. So whoever is named and shamed must be removed and prosecuted. Somebody doesn't go and do something and then you reshuffle him and push him somewhere. because maybe perception out there is this person contributed so much to the campaign. The person was everywhere campaigning for you, so these people cannot be touched. Look, that is the perception out there on the streets. So if you come and tell me we are fighting corruption, plans are underway, we are empowering the institutions, and I see some of these things, we sit here today. There are judgment debts that are supposed to be retrieved. They have not been retrieved as at now. So the Supreme Court has passed orders that government should go and retrieve certain monies. As we sit here, nothing has been done. So if you ask me what's the plan for fighting corruption as we sit here, I don't know. I don't know.
No, but my point is, shouldn't we have a national plan by which the party manifestos would take reference from? Shouldn't that be the idea, that we have a national plan and then your party manifesto is aligned to that national plan? Shouldn't that be the case, sir?
That is where I'll just come to. You see, it's very easy for the current arrangement for political parties to win power than if we had it differently, the way we are thinking of. And for the sake that the agenda is to win power, the political parties will intentionally want it to be the same way it is now. Today I want to just be a Ghanaian, and then we'll talk, and then at least from my professional background as a planner and development planner, and we look at the realities. It is easy for any political parties to sit in their room, massage the wishes of Ghanaians into a document called a manifesto, and come and because it is already your wishes or things that you want to hear as Ghanaians, when they come and say them in their platforms, you are always interested to vote for them. But as to whether they are workable, it's left into the hands of the political parties to know. And sometimes they know very well that whatever they put out there is not workable. But that's what Ghanaians want to hear. That's what you can use to convince. It's like our normal way of, getting to a lady. You go and hire somebody's vehicle and go and tell her that, look, this is my vehicle I've just bought.
I disagree.
You know very well that that's not the point. No.
I disagree, but that's beside the point.
Let's put it there.
I agree with you.
Yes. So sometimes you go and then rent a car, claim that you bought it, and just go in trying to what? Let the person see what he wants to see or hear what he wants to hear. That's the nature of Ghana political parties. And we have to depart upon that. Now, national development planning is very important. As we said, you can be growing without even knowing that you are growing. That's why God, as a master planner, has put every indicators. So that's why we need to have indicators as to how you are growing, to measure how you are growing. So in the strategic planning process as we have in this country, those things are not what? Collectively and participatory done. So sometimes we have had national development plan. Vision 2020, they came, the other political party came and thought that was an NDC or ANDC agenda. They threw it off and went into Ghana shared group, GPR 1. We finished that one, GPRS 2. We finished that one. Now we are in the Ghana shared group and development agenda 1. We finished that one. We are in agenda 2. And now each of them is seen as the political party's document. And therefore any party that comes will don't want to adapt the same and want to put it in another way, and sometimes just probably changing the covers and changing the name. The issues will remain the same as we have them in the country. Look, as a country, I would have thought that, look, we by now would have been equipping the National Development Planning Commission, not partisan institution, that will take advantage of all people who have done it before.
In other words, you don't like the setup as it is right now?
The setup is political. The setup now is political. It is headed by a political leader, appointed, not merit. Whether we like it or not, that is the truth. From MPP, NDC, that is it. So how can another political party come and think that is a national document? And if you look at the institution, the resourcefulness of that institution is questionable. I've been there, I've done 1 or 2 work with them. And I'll tell you that that institution doesn't befit the status of a National Development Planning Commission.
Why do you say that?
Because it is under-resourced. Second, it is over-politicized because political party identify somebody there to go there and then push their agenda into the National Development Planning agenda. And at the end of the day, we produce a document that is for one political party or the other. Now, what we need to do, I will...
And that should be the last.
That should be the last. I will say that, look, let's reconstitute the National Development Planning Commission as a national entity. Let's identify people in the various respective thematic areas of development that we are looking for. By now, we know them. Go to TED, go to Legon, go to UDS. They have good researchers that have been able to identify the thematic areas of development that we need to work on. We have people in Ghana who have practiced, have studied theoretically and practically.
You should be ending.
And therefore, if we are able to do that collectively, we will go around the country, take each district level plans to regional level plans, and we feed into the national level plans, set indicators, and know at what point in time we are going against those indicators in our national plan. All political parties will now refer to that as the reference point for the development of their manifesto.
Indeed.
And the manifestos are only coming to tell us how you want to get us there quicker.
Indeed.
And that
would be lovely. That would be lovely. I'm grateful for your time, gentlemen. I wish we could continue this conversation on growth, especially today. Today is a very good day to talk about national growth. 58 years as a country, as an independent country, it's no joke. But it looks like it's a joke for us, because we don't even know our left from our rights as of now. I'm grateful for your time, for staying through our special coverage of the day. A little later, I'll see you again and bring you up to date the latest from across the regions. I've been here with David Agbe, who is Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Sam Mohammed is lecturer for development planning at the University of Development Studies. Judge Auntie is a member of Concerned Citizens of Ghana, pressure group here. Happy independence to you, if there's anything to be happy about at all. Well, I think there is something to be happy about, that we are free from colonial rule, but beyond that, we'll think about it, ponder over it over the next 24 hours. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye.